The patrol car's headlights cut through the pre-dawn darkness, illuminating the sedan parked alone in the corner of the lot. I remember stepping out into the cold, my breath forming clouds in the February air. The car's engine was running. Exhaust curled from the tailpipe like a question mark. I tapped on the fogged window with my knuckle, then pressed my face closer to see inside. That's when I saw him. Daniel Mercer sat behind the wheel, head tilted back against the headrest, eyes closed. His mouth was slightly open. One hand rested on the steering wheel. The other lay in his lap, fingers curled inward. The radio played softly, some talk show I couldn't quite hear through the glass. Everything looked so ordinary, so peaceful. I knocked harder. "Sir, can you hear me?" Nothing. I tried the door. Unlocked. The moment it opened, warmth rushed out and hit my face. The heat was cranked all the way up. I reached in and touched his neck, searching for a pulse I already knew wasn't there. His skin was still warm, but there was no rhythm beneath my fingers. No blood, no weapon, no signs of trauma. Just a man who looked like he'd fallen asleep on his morning commute. But something felt wrong. Terribly wrong. Within 20 minutes, the parking lot transformed into a crime scene that wasn't officially a crime scene. Yellow tape went up anyway. My partner, Officer Hayes, arrived and helped me secure the perimeter while we waited for the medical examiner. A small crowd gathered near the coffee shop across the street, people clutching their morning drinks and staring. "Anyone know him?" I called out. A woman in scrubs stepped forward. "That's Daniel. He works at the industrial plant down the road. I've seen him here before. Same spot. Same time. Every morning. When did you last see him alive?" She thought for a moment. "Yesterday. Maybe the day before. He usually parks, grabs coffee, then heads to work." I wrote it down, though my hand was shaking slightly. Not from a cold. From the wrongness of it all. Daniel Mercer looked maybe 45. No visible injuries. No obvious cause. Just gone. Hayes leaned in close. "What are you thinking?" "I don't know yet," I said. "But look at his hand." We both stared at Daniel's right hand, still clenched tight, even in death. Like he'd been holding on to something, or were trying to fight something off. What was he reaching for? Hayes whispered. I didn't have an answer. The medical examiner arrived just as the sun started breaking over the horizon. Dr. Patel was methodical, calm, professional. She examined Daniel where he sat, taking photographs, checking for lividity, studying his face and hands with a pen light. "Time of death?" I asked. "Within the last 2 hours, judging by body temperature and rigor. But I'll know more after the autopsy." "Any obvious cause?" She paused, then shook her head. "Nothing external. No trauma. No petechiae in the eyes. No foam around the mouth. He just looks like he stopped breathing. Heart attack, maybe. Or a stroke. Could be anything internal." She glanced at me. "You look bothered." "Something doesn't fit," I said. "Why is his hand clenched like that? Why is the heat on full blast in February? Why park here instead of going inside?" Dr. Patel didn't answer. She just continued her examination, carefully bagging his hands to preserve any evidence beneath his fingernails. By noon, Daniel's body was on its way to the morgue. By evening, the parking lot was empty again. The tape came down. The crowd dispersed. Life moved on, but I couldn't let go of the image of that clenched hand. Daniel Mercer was 42 years old, divorced 3 years, father to a 10-year-old daughter named Claire who lived with her mother in the next town over. He worked as a safety compliance officer at Hartwell Industrial, a chemical processing plant that employed 200 people. I learned all this within hours of his death, piecing together his life from the wallet in his pocket and the phone calls I made that afternoon. His ex-wife, Amanda, sobbed when I told her. His sister, Caroline, went silent for a long time before asking, "Are you sure it's him?" I was sure. Daniel's apartment was small but tidy. Dishes washed, bed made. A framed photo of Claire sat on his nightstand. On the kitchen counter, I found a half-empty bottle of vitamins, a stack of unopened mail, and a coffee mug with dried residue at the bottom. His routine was clear. Wake up, coffee, work, home, repeat. The kind of life built on structure after everything else fell apart. But routines can hide things, or reveal them. I photographed everything, logged everything, feeling like I was invading a stranger's grief. Then I found the notebook. The notebook sat on Daniel's desk, tucked beneath a stack of work documents. It was nothing fancy, just a plain spiral-bound pad with a black cover. But when I flipped it open, I found pages of handwritten notes dated over the past 3 months. November 12th, felt dizzy after lunch. Hands shaking, couldn't focus during afternoon meeting. November 19th, headache all day. Nausea, asked to leave early. November 24th, better today. Maybe just stress. December 3rd, dizzy again. Worse this time. Room spinning. Had to sit down in hallway. The entries continued. Sporadic at first, then more frequent. Daniel was tracking something. Symptoms. Patterns. A progression he couldn't explain. December 18th, talked to Dr. Brennan. He says it's anxiety. Prescribed medication. I don't think he's right. January 4th, skipped coffee this morning. Felt better. Coincidence? January 11th, drank coffee again. Dizzy by 10 a.m. This can't be coincidence. I sat down at his desk, reading every word. Daniel had been sick, getting sicker, and he'd been trying to figure out why. The last entry was dated 3 days before his death. January 28th. I think someone is doing this to me. My stomach dropped. I brought the notebook to my captain the next morning. Captain Morris was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd seen everything twice. She read Daniel's notes with a furrowed brow, then looked up at me. You think this is suspicious? I think we need to wait for the autopsy before we close this as natural causes. She tapped the notebook. He says he thinks someone is doing this to him. Did he say who? No, but he was documenting symptoms for weeks. Dizziness, nausea, headaches. Then he connects it to his coffee. Morris leaned back in her chair. Could be paranoia, stress, anxiety can make people believe all kinds of things. Or he was right, I said, and someone was poisoning him. The word hung in the air between us. Poisoning. It sounded dramatic, almost absurd, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Daniel had been trying to tell someone, anyone, that he was in danger. Morris sighed. Get the autopsy results. Get toxicology. If there's anything unusual, we'll pursue it. Until then, this stays quiet. I nodded and left her office, clutching the notebook like evidence. Because that's what it was. Dr. Patel called me 2 days later. Her voice was careful, measured. I've completed the autopsy on Daniel Mercer. And cause of death is acute organ failure. Multiple systems shutting down simultaneously. But here's the thing. I can't find a clear trigger. No blockages. No ruptures. No infections. What does that mean? It means something causes organs to fail, but I don't know what yet. I've sent samples to toxicology for a full workup. That'll take a few weeks. I close my eyes. You're saying he was poisoned. I'm saying it's possible. His liver showed unusual damage. His kidneys were inflamed. These are signs of toxic exposure, but I need the tox screen to confirm. I thanked her and hung up, staring at the notebook still sitting on my desk. Daniel had known. Somehow, he'd known. Now I just had to prove it. I drove to Hartwell Industrial that afternoon. The plant sat on the edge of town, a sprawling complex of metal buildings and smokestacks. Security waved me through after I showed my badge. Inside, the HR manager, a woman named Teresa Gomez, met me in a sterile conference room. She was polite but guarded. We're all shocked by Daniel's death, she said. He was a valued employee. I need to see his work records. Any complaints he filed. Any incidents he reported. Teresa hesitated. That's confidential. This is a potential homicide investigation. Her expression shifted. Homicide? I can get a warrant if necessary. She left the room and returned 20 minutes later with a thin file. Inside were Daniel's performance reviews. All excellent. And a single incident report dated 4 months earlier. The report detailed a safety violation. Improper chemical storage in one of the processing areas. Containers left unsealed. Ventilation protocols ignored. Daniel had flagged it. Recommended corrective action. Named the employee responsible. Eric Nolan. Eric Nolan was 41. Same department as Daniel. Same job title. They'd worked together for 6 years. According to Teresa, Eric had been given a written warning after Daniel's report, but remained employed. Was there tension between them? I asked. Teresa shifted uncomfortably. Not that I'm aware of. Eric's always been professional. Well, can I speak with him? He's on shift now. I can pull him for a few minutes. I waited in the conference room, studying Eric's employee photo. Clean cut, friendly smile, the kind of face you'd trust immediately. When he walked in, he looked exactly like his photo. Calm, concerned. He sat down across from me and folded his hands on the table. "This is about Daniel, right?" he said. "I heard what happened. It's awful. You two work closely?" "Yeah, same team. We handled safety compliance together. Any conflicts between you?" Eric paused, then nodded slowly. "A few months back, Daniel filed a report about me. Said I wasn't following protocol. It was a misunderstanding, but yeah, it caused some friction." "What kind of friction?" "Nothing serious. We were professional. I understood why he did it. He was just doing his job." I watched his face carefully. No tension, no defensiveness, just calm sincerity. But something about the way he held eye contact felt rehearsed. I left the plant with more questions than answers. Eric Nolan seemed cooperative. Almost too cooperative. But having a workplace conflict didn't make him a killer. Still, I couldn't ignore the timeline. Daniel filed the report in October. By November, he was getting sick. I needed the toxicology results. Until then, everything was speculation. That evening, I visited Amanda, Daniel's ex-wife. She lived in a modest house with their daughter Claire, who was at a friend's house when I arrived. Amanda invited me in, her eyes red from crying. "I keep thinking I should have seen something," she said. "Some sign he was struggling. Did he mention feeling sick?" "He mentioned headaches, dizziness. But Daniel never complained. He just pushed through things." "Did he ever talk about problems at work?" She thought for a moment. "He mentioned filing a report about someone. Said it was awkward, but necessary. That was a few months ago." "Did he say who?" "No, but he seemed stressed about it. Like he was worried about retaliation." I leaned forward. "Did he use the word retaliation?" Amanda's face went pale. "Not exactly, but he said something like, 'I hope this doesn't come back to bite me.'" The toxicology report arrived 3 weeks later. I was at my desk when Dr. Patel called. "We found something," she said. "Ethylene glycol. Antifreeze." My heart started pounding. "How much?" "Trace amounts. Not enough to kill him immediately, but enough to cause cumulative damage over time. Repeated exposure would explain the organ failure." "How would he ingest it?" "Food, drink, anything he consumed regularly." Ethylene glycol is sweet-tasting, easy to hide in coffee or juice. Coffee. Daniel's notebook mentioned coffee. How long would this take to kill someone? Weeks, maybe months, depending on the dose. It's a slow poison, insidious. I thanked her and immediately called Captain Morris. Within the hour, we had a warrant to search Daniel's apartment again. This time, we weren't looking for routine. We were looking for evidence of murder. The travel mug sat on Daniel's kitchen counter exactly where I'd seen it weeks earlier. I bagged it carefully along with the coffee maker, the sugar, the creamer, anything he might have used. The lab rushed the analysis. 2 days later, they confirmed traces of ethylene glycol in the mug's residue. Someone had poisoned Daniel's coffee. Slowly, deliberately, over weeks or months. Now I had to prove who. I returned to Hartwell Industrial with a new warrant. This time, I wasn't asking for records. I was seizing the communal break room supplies. Coffee, creamer, sugar, anything employees shared. Teresa looked horrified. "You think someone here poisoned him?" "I know someone did." Security footage from the break room showed dozens of employees coming and going. But one person appeared more often than others. Always near the coffee station, always restocking supplies. Eric Nolan. I brought Eric in for a formal interview. He arrived with a lawyer, which told me he knew this wasn't casual anymore. We sat across from each other in the interrogation room. His lawyer, a sharp-eyed man named Preston, laid ground rules immediately. "My client is here voluntarily to assist your investigation. He's not under arrest." "Understood," I said. I looked at Eric. "Tell me about your relationship with Daniel Mercer." Eric's face remained calm. "We worked together. Like I said before, just co-workers. Friends, I'd say. We got along. Even after he filed a report that got you written up?" Eric's jaw tightened slightly. "That was uncomfortable, yeah. But I understood. He saw something he thought was unsafe. He reported it. That's his job. Did you resent him for it? No. Did it affect your career? Preston interjected. Where is this going, detective? I ignored him. Eric, did you ever put anything in Daniel's coffee? The question hung in the air. Eric blinked once, twice. What? No. Why would I do that? Because we found ethylene glycol in his system. Antifreeze. Someone poisoned him over a period of weeks. And you had access to the break room coffee supplies. Eric's face went pale. I didn't poison anyone. Then explain why you're on camera restocking the creamer almost daily. Because I use it. I drink coffee too. His voice rose for the first time. Preston put a hand on his arm. We're done here. They left. But I saw it. Just for a second. Panic. The evidence was circumstantial. Eric had motive, professional resentment. He had access, daily interaction with shared supplies. But I couldn't place the antifreeze in his possession. I couldn't prove he'd tampered with anything. I needed more. I interviewed every employee in Daniel's department. Most spoke highly of both men. A few mentioned tension after the report, but nothing explosive. One woman, a lab technician named Nicole Brennan, hesitated when I asked about Eric. What is it? I pressed. It's probably nothing, she said. But Eric used to work in automotive before this. He knows engines, chemicals. He used to joke about how easy it would be to mess with someone's car. Did he ever mention Daniel specifically? Not directly, but after the report, Eric seemed different, quieter, like he was thinking about something. It wasn't proof, but it was a pattern. I obtained a warrant to search Eric's home. His lawyer fought it, but the judge sided with us given the toxicology evidence. Eric lived in a neat suburban house with a 2-car garage. We found nothing inside the house. No antifreeze, no suspicious chemicals. But in the garage, tucked behind a workbench, we found a near-empty jug of antifreeze. Not unusual for someone who works on cars. Except Eric didn't own a car that required it. He drove a newer model with different coolant specifications. The jug had been wiped clean. No fingerprints. But the cap had residue. We sent it to the lab. It matched the traces found in Daniel's mug. Eric Nolan was arrested on a Tuesday morning at his home. I wasn't there for the arrest. Captain Morris sent a team while I coordinated with the prosecutor's office. The evidence was building. The antifreeze jug, the security footage, the motive, the timeline matching Daniel's symptoms. But Eric maintained his innocence. His lawyer argued contamination, coincidence, circumstantial evidence. The trial would be hard. I knew that. Still, when I visited Amanda to tell her we'd made an arrest, she broke down in my arms. He knew, she whispered. Daniel knew someone was hurting him, and no one believed him. I thought about the notebook, the entries tracking his decline. His final words, I think someone is doing this to me. He'd been right all along. The trial began 4 months later. The courtroom was packed. Daniel's family sat in the front row. Eric sat beside his lawyer, expression neutral. The prosecution laid out the case methodically. The toxicology evidence, the workplace conflict, the security footage, the antifreeze jug with matching residue. Eric's defense argued that the evidence was circumstantial, that anyone at the plant could have accessed the break room, that the antifreeze in Eric's garage was for legitimate purposes. They painted Daniel as paranoid, stressed, a man whose anxiety created false narratives. I sat through every day of testimony, watching the jury's faces, trying to read their thoughts. On the 8th day, I was called to testify. I walked through the investigation step by step, presenting Daniel's notebook, explaining the timeline, describing the moment I realized this was murder. Eric's lawyer cross-examined me aggressively. Detective, did you ever find direct evidence of my client poisoning Daniel Mercer? No, but the circumstantial evidence. Yes or no? Did you see him put antifreeze in Daniel's coffee? No. Did anyone witness him doing so? No. Then you're asking the jury to convict based on speculation. I looked at the jury. I'm asking them to follow the evidence. Daniel documented his poisoning in real time. Someone had access. Someone had motive. Someone had antifreeze that matches the traces in his system. That someone is Eric Nolan. The jury deliberated for 2 days. I didn't sleep. I paced my apartment, replaying the trial in my mind, wondering if we'd done enough. On the third day, they reached a verdict. Guilty. Second-degree murder. The courtroom erupted. Amanda sobbed. Caroline hugged me. Eric showed no emotion as the judge remanded him to custody. Sentencing came a month later. 25 years to life. I should have felt relief. Victory. But all I felt was tired. Because Daniel was still gone. After the trial, I visited Daniel's grave for the first time. It was a quiet cemetery on the edge of town, surrounded by trees. His headstone was simple, Daniel Mercer, beloved father and friend. I stood there for a long time, the notebook still in my jacket pocket. I kept it as evidence, but now I wasn't sure what to do with it. You were right, I said out loud. You knew, and I'm sorry no one listened sooner. The wind rustled the leaves. Somewhere nearby, a bird sang. I thought about the clenched hand, the heat on full blast, the wrongness I'd felt from the very beginning. Daniel had fought. Even as poison destroyed him from the inside, he'd fought to understand, to document, to leave some trace of the truth. And in the end, that's what saved him. Not his life, but his story. In the months after Eric's conviction, Hartwell Industrial implemented new safety protocols. Random inspections of communal areas, surveillance upgrades, mandatory reporting training. It felt like too little, too late. Teresa Gomez resigned. She told me privately that she blamed herself for not taking Daniel's concerns more seriously when he was alive. He filed that report, and I just processed it like paperwork, she said. I never asked if he felt safe. I never followed up. I understood her guilt. I felt it too. We all did. Because the truth was, Daniel had been sending signals for months. And the system, HR, doctors, even the police initially, had dismissed him. We'd failed him while he was alive. The best we could do now was honor his memory by doing better. Claire turned 11 that spring. Amanda invited me to the birthday party, and I went, feeling awkward and out of place among the balloons and laughter. But Claire came up to me, shy but determined, and handed me a drawing. It showed a stick figure man holding a little girl's hand. Above them, she'd written my hero dad. "Thank you for finding out what happened," she said quietly. I knelt down to her level. "Your dad was brave, Claire. He knew something was wrong, and he tried to stop it. That's what heroes do." She nodded, tears in her eyes, then hugged me quickly before running back to her friends. I kept that drawing. It sits on my desk now, next to the case file I closed, but will never forget. Eric Nolan's appeals were denied. He remains in prison, still maintaining his innocence. His lawyer continues to claim the evidence was circumstantial, that the conviction was unjust. But I know the truth. So does the jury. So did Daniel. Sometimes I wonder what Eric thought as he added poison to Daniel's coffee each day. Did he feel powerful? Justified? Or was it just cold calculation, eliminating a problem one drop at a time? I'll never know. He never confessed. But it doesn't matter. He's locked away. He can't hurt anyone else. That has to be enough. 3 years have passed since I found Daniel slumped in his car. I've worked dozens of cases since then, but his face still appears in my mind sometimes when I'm trying to sleep. I think about how close we came to missing it. If I hadn't found the notebook, if Dr. Patel hadn't ordered toxicology, if the lab hadn't found traces in the rug, Daniel would have been just another unexplained death. A medical mystery, a closed file. Instead, his case became a textbook example of slow poisoning. Police academies use it for training. Prosecutors cite it in court. Daniel's name lives on in a way he never could have imagined. But I still wish he was alive to see his daughter grow up. The real killer in Daniel's case wasn't just Eric Nolan. It was the slow creep of trust misplaced and warnings ignored. It was a system that valued convenience over caution. It was all of us who heard Daniel's concerns and decided they weren't urgent enough to investigate. Eric pulled the trigger, so to speak, but we all played a role in loading the gun. That's the truth I carry now. That's the lesson Daniel's death taught me. Listen when people say something is wrong. Believe them when their instincts scream danger. Investigate before it's too late. Because sometimes the real killer is hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to look away. Daniel Mercer died alone in a parking lot on a cold February morning. But his story didn't end there. It echoes in every safety protocol at Hartwell Industrial, in every toxicology screen ordered by Dr. Patel, in every case I work where someone says something doesn't feel right. He saved lives by losing his own. That's not justice. It's not fair, but it's something. I still have his notebook. Sometimes I flip through it, reading his careful documentation, his growing fear, his desperate need to be heard. And I make sure I'm listening now to the quiet voices, the dismissed concerns, the people who know something is wrong but can't prove it yet. Because Daniel proved that the most dangerous killers aren't the ones who announce themselves. They're the ones we work beside, smile at, trust. They're hiding in plain sight. And the only way to stop them is to see them before it's too late. This is True Crime Files Gist, where we bring you the cases that refuse to fade, the stories that demand to be told, and the truths that hide in the shadows of everyday life. Daniel's story isn't just about one man's death. It's about all the moments we dismiss our instincts, ignore the warning signs, and trust too easily. It's a reminder that justice begins with listening. If this case moved you, if it made you think twice about the people around you, then Daniel's voice is still being heard. And that matters. Help us keep telling these stories. Hit that subscribe button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below. Tell us what you think, share your own experiences, or just let us know you're listening too. Because at True Crime Files Gist, we don't just report crimes. We honor the victims, expose the truth, and make sure no story gets buried. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay aware, and never stop asking questions.